I still remember standing outside that apartment building looking up at the windows of what used to be my home. 3 years of marriage. 3 years of building something I thought would last forever. Diana was everything to me once. She had this way of making me feel like I mattered, like we were partners in this life. But somewhere along the way, things changed. The woman I loved looked me in the eyes and told me to leave my own house. She just never expected what I would do next. Before I get into the story, let me know where you are watching from today. Drop a comment below, and if you have ever felt like a stranger in your own home, hit that like button and subscribe to this channel. Now let me tell you how one sentence from my wife changed everything. My name is Alvin, and I grew up in a small town outside of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I moved to Denver, Colorado when I was 24 years old, chasing better job opportunities. I work as an HVAC technician, maintaining heating and cooling systems for commercial buildings. The pay is decent, the work is steady, and I have always been proud of making an honest living with my hands. I met Diana at a coffee shop on a rainy Tuesday afternoon. She was sitting by the window reading a book, and something about her just pulled me in. I'm not usually the type to approach strangers, but that day I found the courage to say hello. She looked up at me with these warm brown eyes and smiled. That smile changed my life. We talked for 2 hours that first day. She told me she worked as an administrative assistant at an insurance company downtown. She talked about her dreams of traveling, of seeing the world, of building a life with someone who truly understood her. I hung on every word. By the time we exchanged numbers, I already knew she was special. We dated for 2 years before I proposed. Those 2 years were some of the happiest of my life. Diana was supportive, kind, and always made me feel like I was enough. She used to say, "We are a team, Alvin. Whatever happens, we face it together." I believed her. I believed every word. After the wedding, we started looking for a place to call our own. We found a 2-bedroom apartment in a quiet neighborhood on the outskirts of Denver. The rent was $1,600 a month, which was manageable on my salary. Diana was between jobs at the time, transitioning from her position at the insurance company to something new. So when we signed the lease, I was the only one whose name went on the paperwork. The landlord was a man named Mr. Patterson, a retired contractor in his mid-60s. He was straightforward and fair, and we got along well from the start. He shook my hand and told me he appreciated tenants who paid on time and took care of the property. I assured him he would have no problems with us. Diana and I had a simple arrangement for our finances. I would cover the rent since it was the biggest expense. She would handle the utilities, groceries, and smaller bills. It seemed fair, and for a while it worked perfectly. We split household chores, cooked dinner together, and spent our evenings watching movies or talking about our plans for the future. Life was good. Not perfect, but good. I thought we were building something solid, something that would last. Then Lorraine showed up. Lorraine is Diana's mother. She is 58 years old and has been divorced from Diana's father for over a decade. From what Diana told me, her parents had a messy split, and Lorraine had struggled financially ever since. She had owned a small house in Arizona, but a few years back she sold it. Apparently, some friend of hers convinced her to invest the money in a business opportunity that turned out to be a scam. She lost everything. One evening, about 4 months into our marriage, Diana got a phone call. I was in the kitchen washing dishes when I heard her voice crack. She was crying, saying things like, "Mom, calm down," and "We will figure something out." When she hung up, she came to me with tears in her eyes. "Alvin, my mom has nowhere to go," she said. "She lost her apartment. She has no money, no job, nothing. Can she stay with us just for a few weeks until she gets back on her feet?" I looked at my wife, at the desperation in her face, and I could not say no. This was her mother. Family helps family. That is what I was raised to believe. "Of course," I said. "She can stay in the spare room." Diana hugged me so tight that night. She kept saying, "Thank you, thank you. You are the best husband in the world." I felt good about my decision. I felt like I was doing the right thing. 3 days later, Lorraine arrived at our door with 3 suitcases and a fat orange cat named Biscuit. She walked into the apartment, looked around, and said, "It is smaller than I thought it would be." No hello. No, thank you for letting me stay. Just criticism. I brushed it off. Maybe she was tired from traveling. Maybe she was embarrassed about her situation. I gave her the benefit of the doubt and showed her to the spare room which had been my home office. I had cleared out my desk and computer to make space for her. She did not acknowledge the effort. That was the first sign that something was wrong. I just did not see it yet. The first week with Lorraine in our home was uncomfortable, but I kept telling myself it was an adjustment period. She needed time to settle in. Things would get better. They did not get better. Lorraine had opinions about everything. The way I arranged the furniture, the brand of coffee I bought, the temperature I kept the thermostat at. She would make comments under her breath just loud enough for me to hear, but quiet enough that Diana could pretend she did not notice. One evening, I cooked dinner for everyone. Spaghetti with homemade sauce, nothing fancy, but I put effort into it. Lorraine took one bite, pushed her plate away, and said to Diana, "You know, sweetie, you could do better than a man who thinks this is cooking." I waited for Diana to defend me. She said nothing. She just kept eating, eyes fixed on her plate. That night I tried to talk to Diana about it. "Did you hear what your mom said at dinner?" Diana sighed. "She did not mean anything by it, Alvin. She is just stressed. Give her time." I gave her time. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into a month. Lorraine showed no signs of looking for a job or an apartment. She spent her days watching television in our living room, her cat shedding fur all over our couch. The couch, by the way, was one I had saved up for months to buy. Biscuit's claws tore through the fabric within the first 2 weeks. When I mentioned it to Diana, she shrugged. "It is just a couch, Alvin. Do not make a big deal out of it." I started to feel like a guest in my own home. Lorraine would occupy the living room every evening, watching her shows at full volume. If I wanted to relax after a 12-hour shift, I had to retreat to the bedroom. She had taken over the common spaces as if she owned them. But the worst part was how she poisoned Diana against me. I would come home from work and find them whispering together. The whispering would stop the moment I walked in. Lorraine would give me this look like I was interrupting something important. Diana started acting differently too. She became distant, short-tempered, quick to criticize. One day, about 6 weeks after Lorraine moved in, Diana came to me with a request. "Alvin, I think it would be better if I managed our finances. You can give me your paycheck and I will handle all the bills." I stared at her. Where is this coming from? "I just think it makes sense. I am better with money." I knew exactly where it was coming from. I had heard Lorraine on the phone with one of her friends a few days earlier. She was talking about me, saying things like, "He controls all the money. Diana has no idea what he does with it. Men cannot be trusted with finances." None of it was true. Diana had full access to our joint account. She could see every transaction I made. But Lorraine had planted seeds of doubt, and now those seeds were growing. "I am not doing that," I told Diana. "We have a system that works. I am not changing it because your mother thinks I am hiding something." That was our first real fight. Diana screamed at me, called me controlling, accused me of not trusting her. Lorraine stood in the hallway watching with a satisfied expression on her face. After that night, things deteriorated rapidly. Diana and Lorraine became a unit, and I was the outsider. They ate dinner together without me. They made plans without telling me. They talked about me like I was not even there. I remember one night coming home after a brutal day at work. I'd been on my feet for 12 hours straight fixing a commercial HVAC system that kept breaking down. All I wanted was a hot meal and some rest. When I walked into the kitchen, Diana and Lorraine were finishing dinner. The table was cleared. There was nothing left for me. "Where is my food?" I asked. Diana barely looked up. "You were late. We did not know when you would be back. You can make yourself something." I stood there exhausted and hungry and realized I had become invisible in my own home. I started confiding in Marcus, a coworker who had become a good friend over the years. We would grab lunch together and I would tell him what was happening. He listened without judgment, but one day he looked me straight in the eyes and said something I will never forget. "Alvin, they are pushing you out. Can you not see it? Your wife and her mother are turning you into a ghost in your own life. If you do not do something, you are going to wake up one day and realize you have nothing left." His words hit me hard because I knew he was right. I also called my Aunt Ruth. She raised me after my parents passed away when I was 15. She is the wisest person I know. When I told her what was going on, she was quiet for a long moment. "Alvin," she finally said, "you are a good man. You have always put others first. But you need to ask yourself something. What do you deserve? How should a husband be treated in his own home? If the answer is not what you are getting, then you need to make a choice." I thought about her words for days. Finally, I tried one last thing. I asked Diana if we could go out to dinner, just the two of us. I wanted to reconnect to remind her of what we used to have to talk about our future without Lorraine listening. Diana shook her head. "I cannot leave my mom alone, Alvin. She needs me." That was the moment I realized the truth. Diana had chosen her mother over our marriage, over me, and there was nothing I could do to change her mind. The breaking point came on a Saturday night about 3 months after Lorraine moved in. I had been working overtime all week trying to earn extra money because our expenses had increased with another person in the household. I came home around 8 in the evening, exhausted and looking forward to a quiet night. What I found was anything but quiet. Lorraine had invited 2 of her friends over. I had never seen these women before in my life. They were sitting in my living room playing cards, smoking cigarettes, and laughing loudly. The apartment was filled with smoke. Empty wine bottles cluttered the coffee table. Diana was in the kitchen pouring more wine. "What is going on?" I asked, trying to keep my voice calm. Lorraine did not even look at me. "I invited some friends over. Is that a problem?" I took a deep breath. "Lorraine, I have work early tomorrow morning. I would appreciate it if you could keep the noise down." She turned to her friends and rolled her eyes. "See what I have to deal with." One of her friends laughed. "Honey, you need to put him in his place." I felt my blood pressure rising. I looked at Diana, expecting her to say something to support me to acknowledge that this was inappropriate. She avoided my eyes. "Diana," I said, "can we talk in the bedroom now?" She followed me reluctantly, closing the door behind her. "This has to stop," I said. "Your mother has been here for 3 months. She has not looked for a job. She has not looked for her own place. She treats me like garbage in my own home, and you let her." Diana crossed her arms. "She is my mother, Alvin. She has nowhere else to go. She has been taking advantage of us, of me. I pay for this apartment. I pay for the food she eats, and she cannot even show me basic respect." Diana's expression hardened. "What do you want me to do? Throw her out on the street?" "I want you to set boundaries. I want you to remember that I am your husband. I want us to have a timeline. 30 days for her to find other arrangements. If she needs help, we can help her look. But this cannot go on forever." Diana stared at me for a long moment. Then she said the words that changed everything. "If you do not like my mom living here, you can leave. This is my home too, Alvin." I felt like I had been punched in the stomach. My own wife, the woman I had loved for 5 years, was telling me to get out of the apartment I paid for. The apartment that only had my name on the lease. I did not respond. I just looked at her, at the stranger she had become, and something inside me shifted. The part of me that had been holding on, hoping things would get better, finally let go. "Fine," I said quietly, "if that is what you want." Diana seemed surprised by my calm response. She expected me to argue, to beg to fight. Instead, I walked out of the bedroom, grabbed my jacket, and left the apartment. I spent that night in my car parked in the lot of a 24-hour diner. I did not sleep. I just sat there thinking about my marriage, my life, and what I was going to do next. By morning, I had made my decision. The first thing I did was check the calendar. Our lease was up for renewal in 6 weeks. Mr. Patterson always sent a reminder letter about a month before asking if we wanted to sign another year. I had not received it yet, which meant I still had time. I called Mr. Patterson that Monday morning. "Mr. Patterson, this is Alvin from Unit 214. I wanted to let you know that I will not be renewing the lease when it expires." There was a pause on the other end. "Is everything okay, son? I thought you and your wife were happy there." "Circumstances have changed," I said. "I will be moving out before the lease ends. I just wanted to give you advance notice." "I appreciate that. What about your wife? Will she be staying?" "Diana is not on the lease, Mr. Patterson. It is just my name on the contract. So when I leave, the lease is terminated." Another pause. "I see. Well, I will need the apartment vacated by the end date then. Anyone still there after that will need to leave." "I understand. Thank you." After I hung up, I felt something I had not felt in months. Control. I was taking my life back into my own hands. Over the next 6 weeks, I executed my plan carefully. I rented a small studio apartment near my workplace. It was nothing fancy, just 400 square feet with a kitchenette and a bathroom, but it was mine. It was peaceful. I started moving my belongings out slowly, a box here, a bag there. Diana and Lorraine were so wrapped up in their own world that they did not notice. I had become so invisible to them that my gradual disappearance went undetected. I opened a new bank account and redirected my paycheck there. I gathered all my important documents, my birth certificate, social security card, passport, and stored them at my new place. I consulted with a divorce attorney to understand my options and begin the paperwork. Marcus helped me move the bigger items on weekends when Diana thought I was working overtime. He never judged me, just helped me load boxes into his truck and unload them at my new place. "You are doing the right thing," he told me. "I know it does not feel like it now, but you are." Aunt Ruth said the same thing when I visited her. She made me dinner, hugged me tight, and told me she was proud of me for valuing myself. Finally, the last day of the lease arrived. By then, I had already moved out completely. The apartment looked the same because I had not taken any furniture. Diana and Lorraine never noticed that my clothes were gone, that my personal items had disappeared. They were too busy living their lives without me. On that last morning, I went to the apartment one final time. Diana was at work. Lorraine was asleep. I placed my keys on the kitchen counter along with a short note. I left, just like you asked. Then I walked out and closed the door behind me. I went to work that day and focused on my job. My phone started buzzing around 3 in the afternoon. Diana's name flashed on the screen. I let it go to voicemail. She called again. And again. 23 times in total. The text messages started flooding in. "Where are you? Why are your clothes gone? Mr. Patterson came by. He said we have to leave by Friday. What did you do? Alvin, answer me. You cannot do this. How could you do this to us?" Lorraine left a voicemail too. I listened to it once. She called me a coward, a worthless excuse for a man, and several other things I will not repeat. I responded to Diana with one message. "You told me to leave. I did. The lease was in my name. It always was. Good luck." That was the last communication I had with her for months. I found out later what happened. Diana tried to negotiate with Mr. Patterson, tried to convince him to let her sign a new lease. He declined. He told her he preferred tenants who were upfront and honest, and he did not appreciate being put in the middle of a domestic situation. Diana ended up moving in with her cousin across town. As for Lorraine, she had no one willing to take her in. She spent 2 weeks in a temporary shelter before finding a room to rent in a boarding house. I did not feel joy at their misfortune. I did not feel revenge. I just felt free. The first few weeks after I left were strange. My studio apartment was quiet. Too quiet. I had grown used to the noise of Lorraine's television, the sound of whispered conversations that stopped when I entered a room. The silence was unsettling at first. I would wake up in the middle of the night reaching for Diana out of habit only to find empty space beside me. Some mornings I questioned whether I had done the right thing. Marriage is supposed to be forever right, for better or worse, but then I would sit with my coffee in my small kitchen and I would notice something. There was no one criticizing how I made it, no one making snide comments about my life, no one making me feel like I did not belong. The peace was unfamiliar, but it was real. The divorce was finalized 4 months later. Diana did not contest it. We had no children, no property to divide, no complicated assets. She got half of our modest savings, which was fair. I did not fight her on anything. I just wanted it to be over. Slowly, I started rebuilding my life. I threw myself into my work, picking up extra shifts and saving money. I reconnected with friends I had neglected during my marriage. Marcus and I started fishing together on weekends, something I had not done since I was a kid. I visited Aunt Ruth more often, sharing meals with her and listening to her stories. I also started taking care of myself in ways I had forgotten. I joined a gym. I started reading again, something Diana always said was a waste of time. I cooked meals that I enjoyed without worrying whether anyone else approved. 6 months after the divorce, I moved into a nicer apartment. 1 bedroom, a real living room, a balcony with a view of the mountains. It felt like a fresh start. I even started noticing other people again. There was a woman who worked at the coffee shop near my new place. Her name was Stacy. She had kind eyes and always remembered my order. We chatted a little more each time I came in. I was not ready for anything serious, but it was nice to feel like myself again, like someone worth knowing. I still think about my marriage sometimes. Not with anger or bitterness, but with a kind of sad acceptance. I loved Diana, I really did. But somewhere along the way she stopped seeing me. She stopped valuing me. And when her mother came into our home, I became expendable. The hardest lesson I learned is that love is not enough. Respect matters. Boundaries matter. Being treated like a partner, not a paycheck or a punching bag, matters. I do not hate Diana or Lorraine. Hate takes too much energy, and I have better things to do with my life. I hope they found what they were looking for. I hope Lorraine found stability. I hope Diana found whatever was missing that made her push me away. But I also know that I could not be the one to give them what they needed, not at the cost of losing myself. Sometimes walking away is not giving up. It is choosing yourself. It is saying, I deserve better than this. I am sitting on my balcony as I share this story, watching the sun set over Denver. The sky is painted orange and gold, and the air is cool and clean. A year ago, I was invisible in my own home. Today, I am at peace. If you are in a situation like I was, if someone is making you feel like you do not matter in your own life, I want you to know something. You have options. You have value. And sometimes the bravest thing you can do is leave. Diana told me to get out of my own house. So I did. And I took the house with me. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever been made to feel like a stranger in your own home? Have you ever had to